Hey everyone, welcome back for another deep dive curated just for you. And today we're diving into something I know you'll find super interesting, especially given how closely you follow political communication.
Definitely a topic ripe for discussion.
It's well, you've probably seen it all over online, the whole Matt Gaetz martial law thing that kind of blew up.
Yeah, the martial law incident, it's fascinating how a misspelling can snowball into this whole bigger conversation.
Right. It's Matt Gaetz, former congressman. We're talking about a lawyer here.
Mhm.
And he misspelled martial law, like the legal term, as martial law in a post on X.
And of course, the internet did what the internet does.
Oh, yeah, they went to town.
Memes, jokes, you name it. It kind of highlights how social media, it's all about those quick reactions, those snappy comebacks, rather than actual in-depth discussion.
Yeah, for sure. And some of the jokes were pretty clever, I gotta admit.
Irony is almost too perfect, though.
Right.
A lawyer misspelling a core legal term.
It's like, come on, man, you went to law school.
Exactly. And it really shows how sometimes online, those quick hits and viral moments, they take over.
They totally overshadow the actual issues, yeah. Okay, so for those who might not be completely up to speed on Gaetz, can you give us a quick rundown of, his background?
Yeah.
Just so everyone's on the same page.
Absolutely. So Matt Gaetz, he was a congressman from Florida, pretty prominent figure in the Republican Party, definitely known for his very conservative views.
And his very vocal support of Trump, right?
Oh, absolutely. A staunch Trump ally.
Oh.
And he actually resigned from Congress back in December 2024.
Yeah, I remember that causing quite a stir. Wasn't it something to do with a nomination for Attorney General under Trump?
You got it. He resigned to accept that nomination. It was a big deal because, it was Trump's second term. And this signaled a potential return to that politically charged atmosphere we saw during his first presidency.
Oh yeah, things were definitely tense back then. But
Yeah.
hold on, didn't that nomination fall through? I feel like I remember there being a lot of pushback from the Senate.
You're right. The nomination was ultimately withdrawn due to significant opposition in the Senate. The reasons behind that, well, that's a whole other deep dive. But for now, let's stick with the whole martial law situation.
Okay, so let's get to the actual post, the one that sparked this whole online storm.
Mm-hmm.
What exactly did Gaetz say?
All right, so, quote, South Korea's president instituted martial law for a day, and they're trying to arrest him. Fauci basically instituted martial law for months, end quote. And yeah, you can see how this is, kind of asking for online dissection.
Oh yeah, there's a lot to unpack there, especially that comparison he's drawing between South Korea and Dr. Fauci.
Mm-hmm.
But before we get into that, can you quickly explain what martial law actually means, just so we're all clear what we're talking about here?
Sure. So, in a nutshell, martial law is when the military takes control over civilian functions. It's usually implemented during, extreme emergencies. Think natural disasters, major civil unrest, even wartime, to maintain order and control, basically.
So it's not something you just throw around lightly. It's a pretty serious measure.
Exactly. And that's what makes Geitz's comparison so loaded.
He's comparing what happened in South Korea to Dr. Fauci's handling of the pandemic. That's quite a statement.
Yeah, it's inherently debatable, politically charged, definitely a lot of implications. We're not here to take sides or anything, but it's important to understand the weight of what he's alleging. We're talking about potentially curtailing civil liberties here.
Okay, so back to the public reaction. I was scrolling through Reddit, and honestly, the comments were hilarious.
And that's another interesting part of this, right? This misspelling, it kind of became the main story, overshadowing whatever Gaetz was initially trying to say. It really shows how social media can be so unpredictable.
Totally. Instead of engaging with the substance of what he was arguing, everyone's focused on this martial law thing.
It's like the misspelling itself became more important than the actual issue he was trying to raise.
I saw one comment that was like, who is this martial law guy? Is he a new kid at your girlfriend's school? I mean, come on, that's gold.
Yeah, the internet does love its memes.
But jokes aside, this whole thing also reveals something about public perception.
Oh, right.
Especially given that Gaetz is, well, he's a pretty polarizing figure.
Definitely. This misspelling just kind of fueled those existing criticisms about his judgment and competence.
It confirmed everyone's biases.
Yeah.
See, we told you so.
Exactly. It fed into that existing narrative surrounding him, which is something we see online all the time. Those gaffes and missteps, they get amplified and, they're used to reinforce pre-existing opinions.
So for his critics, it's like they got more ammo And for his supporters, I'm guessing they just brushed it aside.
Yeah, for them, it probably just reinforced their existing views.
Yeah.
Whether positive or negative, this incident became another data point in those preformed narratives.
And let's be real, for some people, the laughter is probably a way to cope, right? Like using humor to deal with a figure they find frustrating or even dangerous.
Absolutely. It's a very human response to situations that feel overwhelming or out of our control.
So we've talked about the reactions, the memes, the whole online frenzy, but what are the deeper implications here? What does this seemingly trivial incident tell us about how we consume news and form opinions in this digital age?
That's a great question. And I think it gets to the heart of why this whole martial law thing is so fascinating. It raises some important questions about the role of social media in shaping political discourse.
And about how we as a society process information in a world that's dominated by like these quick hits and viral moments, right?
Exactly. It makes you wonder, right? Are we so focused on these viral moments, these online gaffes that we're missing the bigger picture?
Yeah, totally. I mean, Gaetz was a lawyer before he got into politics. You'd think he would know how to spell martial law.
It's pretty basic legal terminology.
Right. Makes you wonder.
It plays right into those concerns that some people have about his competence, especially coming from someone with a legal background.
It's like it just confirms what they already thought. Like, see, we told you so.
Exactly. It just adds fuel to that narrative that's already out there, highlighting this pattern we see online where mistakes and gaffes, they get amplified. They're used to reinforce people's existing opinions.
So instead of engaging with the substance of what he's saying, everyone's just focused on this misspelling. It's like the misspelling becomes the story instead of the issues he's trying to raise.
Yeah.
You think this kind of thing can actually change anyone's mind, though? Or is it just like preaching to the choir?
That's a good question. I think for some people, yeah, it might solidify their opinions, but for those who are maybe on the fence about Gaetz, this could be a turning point. Seeing this misspelling might make them question his credibility or make them less likely to take his arguments seriously.
It reminds me of that time, you remember when that other politician misspelled potato?
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
It became a meme instantly.
Yeah.
And it definitely changed how people saw them. It's crazy how these little things can have such a big impact.
It really shows the power of these viral moments, right? They can completely derail serious conversations.
Yeah.
They turn these complex issues into these shareable memes.
And for someone like Gaetz, who's already a controversial figure, this kind of incident can be especially damaging.
Oh, for sure. Do you remember what the political climate was like when this all happened?
Oh, absolutely. This was right in the middle of the 2024 election. Trump was running for president again. Things were already pretty tense politically. I remember a lot of people were on edge. And this Gaetz thing just added fuel to the fire.
Right, exactly. And with Gaetz being such a vocal supporter of Trump, his actions were under even more scrutiny. So this whole martial law mishap, on top of his resignation and the nomination being withdrawn, it all added to his public image in a way that could be hard to shake off.
It makes you question, his attention to detail, his understanding of legal concepts, his credibility in general. But is there another side to this? Could all this negative attention actually end up working in his favor?
That's an interesting thought. There's definitely the argument that any publicity is good publicity, especially in politics.
Yeah, right. So even if people are making fun of him, they're still talking about him. He's staying in the public eye. I could see how that could be beneficial, especially for someone like Gaetz, who seems to thrive on controversy.
Exactly. In a world where attention equals influence, all that buzz, even if it's for the wrong reasons, can be valuable. It keeps his name out there, even if it's attached to a meme or a joke.
It's that whole love to hate him thing. Some people might actually be drawn to that, to his defiance, his willingness to break the rules, even if they disagree with him. They see him as a rebel, an outsider.
Yeah, you're right. It plays into that classic trope of the anti-establishment figure, the one who challenges the norms, ruffles some feathers. And this martial law thing, it could actually end up reinforcing that image for him, solidify his base.
It's kind of a paradox, isn't it?
It really is.
Yeah. This one misspelling, as small as it seems, could actually end up shaping how people see him. And it could even influence his political future.
It makes you think about the future of political communication, Are we moving toward an era where these kinds of gaffes and viral moments matter more than a politician's actual stance on the issues?
I mean, look at how much attention this got and how many people are probably still talking about it.
It's a little concerning if that's what's driving the conversation these days.
Yeah, it seems like the line between entertainment and politics is getting blurrier all the time. We're bombarded with so much information, and most of it is designed to grab our attention really quickly and get a reaction. It's hard to know what to pay attention to and what to just ignore.
It's like we're becoming desensitized to the real issues. We're distracted by all the online drama and sensationalized news. I wonder if we're losing sight of what really matters. It's a valid concern, and it's on us as people who are consuming this information to be more discerning, you know? We have to demand more from our political leaders than just viral moments and sound bites.
Exactly. We need substance, we need thoughtful discussion, we need a real commitment to addressing the issues that are actually affecting people's lives.
Couldn't agree more.
Yeah, it's like it's easy to get caught up in the whole online thing, all the jokes and the memes.
Mhm.
But we got to remember that there are like real world consequences to all of this.
Mhm.
I mean, Gaetz was a congressman, a lawyer. He was even nominated for attorney general.
Right.
So this is bigger than just a misspelling, right?
Exactly. It's not just about the martial law thing. It makes you think about his whole career, you know, and how he's managed to stay such a prominent figure even with all these controversies.
He's definitely good at keeping people talking, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Whether it's good or bad attention.
Yeah.
How do you think he's managed to stay relevant, even with all the pushback he gets?
I think he's cultivated a very specific image, you know, one that really resonates with a certain segment of the population. We talked earlier about that outsider persona, the one who isn't afraid to challenge the norms and stir up controversy.
Right, like he's not afraid to ruffle some feathers and say what he thinks, even if it's not like the most politically correct
Yeah.
thing.
Hmm.
Do you think some people might see this misspelling as part of that image? Like, oh, that's just Gaetz being Gaetz.
Yeah, definitely. I think in today's political climate, that authenticity, even if it comes with some flaws, can be appealing to certain people. They might see it as a sign that he's not, one of those polished, scripted politicians. He's a real person. He makes mistakes just like them.
So it's almost like those mistakes make him more relatable, which is kind of strange when you think about it.
Yeah.
But it makes you wonder what we really value in our leaders these days. Are we moving away from those traditional ideas of competence and experience? Are we looking more for personality, for someone who can put on a show?
That's a really interesting point. I think this whole incident suggests that those old metrics, they might not be as important anymore. Not in the digital age. It's more about how you connect with people, how you get people talking, even if it's, for the wrong reasons.
It's like there's a new way to earn political capital. So, big picture, do you think this martial law thing will help or hurt Gaetz in the long run?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Will all this attention, even if it's mostly negative, turn into actual influence? Will it help him achieve his goals? I guess we'll have to wait and see.
It really makes you think about where we're headed as a society, how we get our information, what it means for politics. It's definitely an interesting time to be paying attention to all of this.
It is. It's a wild ride. This whole incident, even though it seems so small on the surface, it's opened up all these questions about online perception, about how politicians communicate, about how power works in the digital world.
Well, this has been a fascinating deep dive. Thanks for walking us through it all.
It's been my pleasure.
I always learned so much from our conversations. And remember, this deep dive was curated just for you. So keep exploring these topics, stay curious, keep asking questions, and don't be afraid to challenge your own assumptions.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
And on that note, we'll wrap things up here. Until next time, keep diving deep.